On February 14, 2018, a shooting took place at Marjory Stoneman Douglas High School in Florida. The shooter killed 17 people. On February 17, one of the shooting survivors, Senior Emma Gonzalez, gave a speech. She addressed lawmakers in Congress and the National Rifle Association, NRA, a large group that fights to keep regulations on guns very limited. Gonzalez pointed out how easily people can access guns in the United States and how tragedies like this keep occurring. She also expressed her generation's commitment to demanding gun regulation. Here are her words.
Time for victims to be the change that we need to see every single person up here today. All these people should be home grieving. But instead, we are up here standing together because all our government and president can do is send thoughts and prayers. It's time for victims to be the change that we need to see. Since the Founding Fathers added the Second Amendment to the Constitution, our guns have developed at a rate that leaves me dizzy. The guns have changed, but our laws have not. We certainly do not understand why it should be harder to make plans with friends on weekends than to buy an automatic or semi-automatic weapon. In our government class, we had about 3 debates this year. Some discussions on the subject even occurred during the shooting, while students were hiding in closets. The people involved right now, those who were there, are being listened to for what feels like the very first time.
Japan has never had a mass shooting. I found out today that there's a website called shootingtracker.com. Nothing in the title suggests that it is only tracking US shootings, but does it really need to? Because other countries don't have the number of mass shootings that we do. Australia had one mass shooting in 1999, and after it introduced gun safety laws, it hasn't had one since. Japan has never had a mass shooting. Canada has had 3 and the UK had 1, and they both introduced gun control. And yet here we are, with websites dedicated to reporting these tragedies so that they can be turned into statistics for your convenience. If us students have learned anything, it's that if you don't study, you will fail. And in this case, if you do nothing, people continually end up dead, so it's time to start doing something.
We are going to change the law. We are going to be the kids you read about in textbooks. Not because we are going to be another statistic about mass shootings in America, but because we are going to be the last mass shooting. We are going to change the law. That's what you read about Marjory Stoneman Douglas in textbooks, and it's going to be due to the tireless effort of the school board, the teachers, the family members and, most of all, the students. President Trump tweeted that there were so many signs that the Florida shooter was mentally disturbed, and that he was even expelled for bad behavior. Trump said neighbors and classmates knew he was a big problem. Must always report such instances to authorities, again and again. But we did, again and again. And we need to pay attention to the fact that this was not just a mental health issue. He would not have harmed that many students with just a knife.
Stop blaming the victims. How about we stop blaming the victims for something that was the student's fault? What about the people who let him buy the guns in the first place? What about the people at the gun shows, those who encouraged him to buy accessories for his guns to make them fully automatic? What about the people who didn't take his guns away from him when they knew he was angry and thinking about hurting people? If the president wants to come up to me and tell me that this was a terrible tragedy, I'm going to ask him how much money he received from the National Rifle Association. But it doesn't matter because I already know, $30 million. And divided by the number of gunshot victims in the United States in 2018 alone, that comes out to $5,800. Is that how much these people are worth to you, Trump?
In February of 2017, President Trump removed an Obama-era regulation that would have made it easier to stop people with mental illnesses from buying guns. I don't need to be a psychologist to know that repealing it was a really bad idea. The bill was introduced by Republican Senator Chuck Grassley. Now he's saying it's a shame the FBI isn't doing background checks on these mentally ill people. Well, duh. You took that away. The people in the government are lying to us, and us kids call BS. Lawmakers who in the House and Senate funded by the NRA tell us nothing could have been done to prevent this, we call BS. Tougher gun laws do not decrease gun violence. We call BS. A good guy with a gun stops a bad guy with a gun. We call BS. No laws could have prevented the hundreds of senseless tragedies that have occurred. We call BS. They say that us kids don't know what we're talking about, that we're too young to understand how the government works. We call BS. Register to vote.